All right, everyone, welcome to today's presentation. Once again, my name is Ed from Principia Prep, and I'll be doing the college aid program here for you guys, basically explaining how the whole process works. Now, if you guys have any questions as we go through this, or things pop up in your mind, or you want to jump off early, or you need to jump off early, you can always just email me as well if you have to jump off anytime early. I am recording this as well as if you guys have any questions, just ask any questions you guys have in the Q&A box. So on your Zoom bar, there's a Q&A tab. If you click on the Q&A tab, it'll allow me to see any questions you guys have as we're going through this whole thing. As well as at the end, I'll answer any additional questions you guys have at the end as well. I'll stick around to answer all the questions, as well as also I'll provide you my contact information at the end if you guys need help in the process. Now, my name, once again, is Ed Zamora. I've been actually doing this now from, gosh, it's got to be about 30 years. I've been college advisor. I've worked at four different private colleges, and this is, I believe, the second or third year I'm helping you guys out. I keep losing track of how many years I help out schools. But all that being said, if you guys have questions, once again, just ask away as we're going through this. That being said, let's jump right into today's presentation outline. Today, I'm going to be going through a lot of stuff. So if you get overwhelmed, once again, don't worry. This is being recorded. You can watch it later on as well. That being said, I'm going to be going through the college cost as well as the homework assignments. So everyone watching today's webinar has homework assignments, and the homework assignments are very simple. You're all going to do the net price calculators. And if you don't know what that is, don't worry. I'm going to explain what that all is and the homework you should be doing to make sure your college list makes sense for your family. I'm also going to be going over the SAT, ACT situation as far as how optional affects admissions as well as the financial aid part. And I'm also going to be going over the FAFSA, the CSS profile, and also state forms. Because for New York, specifically New York residents, you guys have the most complicated financial aid system other than California. So California and New York always have more paperwork to do, more obstacles, more things to get done. So I'm going to go through as much of it as possible so all you guys on here for New York specifically know what's going on. That being said, I'm also going to be going over things to avoid, things to watch out for as far as scams, frauds, financial aid resources, and also loan resources. Now, all that being said, let me first start off with our scholarship program here at Principia. Now, at Principia, we have our own scholarship program. It's called the James Russo Memorial Scholarship. It's a scholarship program we set up roughly around 5 years ago or so. Now, the program itself is very simple. If you want to apply to our program, all you need to do is just watch the video on the scholarship program. And to find the video is very simple. Our video is found here on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube and type my name in, Ed Zamora, our channel pops up. On our channel, we have something around 300 college videos now. So we've been posting a lot more regularly now over the last couple of weeks, couple of months. Basically, on the channel, we have videos about everything, about what essays work for admissions, what essays don't work, about financial aid guides to help you fill out the financial aid forms, how to find scholarships, how to appeal for more money. Basically, any question you have, whether it's early action, early decision, etc., we have videos on the channel explaining what you need to do. Now, any of the videos you guys watch on here, whether it be any of these videos or the James Russell Memorial Scholarship video, any of these videos you watch have commercials at the beginning, the middle, and the end. And the way it works is all the revenue from those commercials we take and then give back to you guys at the end of the year through the scholarship program. So the more of you guys that go on the YouTube channel and like, comment, subscribe, let the videos run, let the commercials run, the more money we have every year to give back in scholarships. And when I say let the commercials run, what I mean is every commercial on YouTube ranges from anything from 10 seconds to like 2 hours. You don't need to let the whole commercial run. If the commercial runs for 31 seconds or more, we get the revenue. So whether the commercial is 10, 20, 30 minutes long, if it runs for 31 seconds, we bank the revenue, which is obviously helpful because then we give it back to you guys in scholarship funds. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get into the crux of why you guys are here. First, let's start talking about, since we're right in the heart of admissions season, basically, let's start talking about the test optional situation. Now, if you're considering going test optional, let's say you're a senior and you're looking for other schools, or you're a junior and you need a school list and you don't know where to look, very simple. On this website right here is a list of all SAT, ACT optional colleges out there. This right here, the website down below, is a great resource to build a college list if you're looking for schools that don't need the SATs or ACTs to be admitted into the college. Now, the tricky part about this, though, is that since the SAT, ACT is now becoming very important in the world of admissions more than ever before, it seems like if you do go SAT, ACT optional, in some cases it is devaluing, I guess the best way to put it, your student's application for admissions. So if I'm not sending test scores in, one way to kind of circumvent that is I'm trying to submit my applications as early as possible. So if your deadline's on November 1st or November 15th or even December 1st for some of you, I'd be looking to get this stuff in early October as soon as possible to try to get away from the competition that's coming later on this month. Now, with that being said, the other way of looking at it, not just from an admissions point of view, is if you go SAT, ACT optional, some colleges will use this against you, unfortunately, when it comes to scholarship consideration. Now, if you want to figure this out, which of my schools that we're looking at that are SAT, ACT optional are going to use this against us, very simple. Call the school's admissions office and ask them, if we don't send test scores in, will this be used against us for scholarship consideration? It's a very important question to ask, but some schools, as I mentioned before, do use it against you. A lot of schools, thankfully, though, do not. But it's best to know that up front. And then another thing to consider, another thing that's going on in the world of college that many of you might not be aware of as of yet, is that students are taking longer than 4 years to graduate four-year colleges. In fact, in some cases, at some colleges, half their students are taking 5, in some cases 6 years to graduate four-year programs. And the problem with that is this. In the world of college, there is no such thing as a 5 or 6 year scholarship. They don't exist for the undergrad programs. There's also no such thing as a 5 or 6 year grant from the colleges. So if your student takes longer than 4 years to graduate an undergrad program, what that basically means is that money's coming out of you as far as you guys paying on a payment plan or paying an extra semester right out of pocket, or worse, taking on more student loan debt, which obviously you want to avoid. So how do we avoid this happening? Very simple. The easiest way to avoid your students taking longer than 4 years is to essentially follow this formula. Now, if you guys want to take screenshots, you can take screenshots as well before you get the recording. If you want to take screenshots just to have your own notes, the way it works is this. Whatever college your student goes to, and let's use an easy one here, we'll use Binghamton, SUNY Binghamton as a college. SUNY Binghamton has 2 semesters, as most colleges do. They have a fall semester and a spring semester. Now, in that fall semester and that spring semester, whatever tuition you're paying, let's just use an even number. Let's say you're paying $20,000 a year to go to SUNY Binghamton as a tuition cost, it's an even number. You're paying $10,000 in the fall, $10,000 in the spring. And the way to think about it is this: for that $10,000 that you're paying each semester, your student is allowed to take 12 to 18 college credits. So you need to think of it that way. I'm paying them $10,000 a semester for my ability of my student to take 12 to 18 college credits. Now, to graduate any four-year institution, you typically need between 124 to 128 college credits. The problem becomes, and the reason a lot of students are taking longer, is because every student is going to start off as a freshman their fall semester with 12 to 13 college credits. And the reason their school starts you at the bottom end of the credits you're allowed to take is because they want to ease your student into the college process. They don't want to overwhelm them. The problem becomes, though, line number 2 here. If your student keeps taking 12 college credits each semester, if they keep taking 12, they're still looked upon as a full-time student. However, after 4 years, they only have 96 college credits. They're 30 credits short of graduating, unfortunately. If you instead look at line number 3, if your student averages 15 college credits per semester, by the end of the 4th year, they have 120 credits, they're in line to graduate on time. Now, how do we make sure line 3 happens? Very simple. Every time your student comes home for break, Christmas break, fall semester's over, I want to see your grades. I want to see your transcript. I want to see the college credits accomplished. Then they come home for summer break, same thing. I want to see your grades. I want to see your transcript. I want to see your classes taken. This way you can make sure that they're on track. So if they start with 12, but then the next semester they take 16 or 17, okay, they're catching up. Then again, 16 or 17, they're catching up. As long as they maintain that 15 or so, you guys will be fine to get them in and out in the 4 years. Now, let's talk about financial aid. And when it comes to financial aid, right off the bat, I can tell you that nobody understands financial aid. And I say that kind of half jokingly from the point of view of financial aid is very complicated. It's very complex. And the systems, the schools, the federal government, the forms try to make it easier, but they really don't. And let me explain to you what I mean. If you go to any college, any open house, anywhere, and you ask them what what kind of financial aid the school gives out, or does the school give out financial aid, or would the school give us financial aid? They're all going to say yes, 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 yes. They don't have any idea who you are. They don't have no idea what your students' academics look like, what your financial situation is. Every school knows they can offer you financial aid from the point of view of Majority of colleges that you'll be dealing with, somewhere like me, let's call it, someone on the inside who works at the colleges, looks at the term financial aid very different than you do. In fact, if you even Google the term financial aid, Google will tell you financial aid means scholarships, grants, loans, and work programs. And even Google is wrong about this because that's not what financial aid means. Financial aid does not mean grants, scholarships, loans, and work study. What financial aid, the term actually means from an institutional person is guaranteed loans, guaranteed work programs, maybe scholarships, and maybe grants. And the reason you should be looking at it from that perspective is because it gives you a better understanding of how this actually works. From the point of view of when anyone at the college says to you, the financial aid officer, the admissions officer, whoever, yes, we provide financial aid here, the next question should always be the same question. How much gift aid do you typically give out? Gift aid is the actual financial aid term that means free money. That's what you're really looking for. You're really not looking for loans from the federal government or work programs. You're looking to see what's the free money. And the way to get that out of them is to ask them how much gift aid they typically give out. Now, gift aid, which is only grants and scholarships, and now if you're wondering what the difference between a grant and a scholarship is, the answer is pretty simple. A scholarship is guaranteed money for 4 years given to you by the admissions office, not the financial aid office. And a grant is never given to you for more than 1 year, and it's given to you by the financial aid office. So grant money is based on your student and you filling out the financial aid forms every single upcoming year to get aid for the next academic year coming up. So grants can go up or down based on your financial situation, where scholarships will not go up or down. They stay the same for 4 years as long as your student maintains a B average and goes to class full time. Now, in addition to that understanding, let's start talking about the breakdown of college cost. Now, every one of you, the college cost breaks into three categories. And I mean this like everyone in the entire country. If you stay in the state of New York, so you're a resident of New York, and if you stay in New York, what will happen is if we're talking about schools like SUNY, CUNY, these kind of schools, you're looking at cost of roughly around 16 to basically 40,000 all in, room, board, books, tuition, the whole thing. If you guys leave the state of New York and look at the, I guess, surrounding colleges, a lot of students like to look at, like UConn, UDel, UMaryland, Penn State, Rutgers, those kind of schools, you guys are in the 40 to $70,000 camp. If you're looking at the higher end schools, let's call it NYU, Fordham, Columbia, and then even higher, you're looking at a cost now of $100,000. Now, I know some of you guys are thinking this is insane. How did the college get so expensive? Will I ever be able to retire? Why did I have kids? Where did it all go wrong? I get it. I have kids. I understand the scenario and the thought process from the parents watching this right now. But the reality is, I show you guys in the beginning the high end cost of these schools for two reasons. Number one, to say never look at the price tag of a college and assume you can't afford it. What you must do is the homework to figure out, is the college affordable to us? I'm going to show you guys the homework in a moment. That's number one. And then number two, every college is the same. There is no difference. I don't care what Newsweek rankings say. It's all made up PR stuff to just sell magazines. And let me explain to you what I mean. To me, and I've been doing this 30 years, it's probably twice as long as your students even been alive. To me, there's only two types of colleges, just two, the Ivy League and everybody else. To me, University of Michigan, Tulane, Rutgers, Hofstra, Quinnipiac, Fairleigh Dickinson, Pace, they're all the same school. There's no difference in my eyes. Only difference is location versus price, and that's pretty much it. And that's the mindset you should have as a parent and as a student watching this from this point of view. The reality is 20 years ago, and the mindset that's still now in place for a lot of parents and students is we're going to get you into the best school, the highest ranked school, the most difficult school to get into, and then we're just going to figure out how to pay for it. That mentality does not work and has not worked for 20 years, but people keep thinking that. The reality is your mindset should be, let's find the best academic fit for the student, the best social fit where they feel comfortable as a person, a student, etc., and I as a parent feel comfortable from a safety perspective. And then third, the affordability aspect. If you have the right social, academic, and affordability, then you're fine. But if you're just focusing in on, I got to get into the harder school and we're going to figure it out, you're playing this completely wrong, to be honest with you. That has not worked in 20 years because now the return on investment is no longer there anymore. And you understand what I mean by that when I start going more in depth on the differences between some of these colleges and costs. Now, let me talk about how the colleges determine or I guess figure out if you're even eligible for any need-based aid, basically grant money every year. Now, the equation you see in front of you is how every college, everyone from CUNY all the way to CUNY schools, all the way to Harvard, determines if you have financial ability to get any need grant money from them. The first part of the equation is called cost of attendance. Cost of attendance is what a school costs, everything included, for one academic year. You should all write down the term cost of attendance. It's extremely important and almost nobody uses it. I'm going to explain to you in the next slide why it's so important. So the total cost of the school is called cost of attendance. You subtract out what's known as the student aid index number. The student aid index number is the number they're going to give you at the end of the financial aid forms after you fill them out, indicating this is the minimum amount we expect you to pay towards college for one student for this upcoming academic year. What's left over is what's known as financial need. The financial need is what the college should help you with in scholarships, grants, loans, and work study. Now, the reason I say should is there's no guideline. There's no rule at all saying that colleges have to provide you aid. As you go through this whole process, you're going to notice some schools are very generous and some schools aren't generous at all, unfortunately. I'm going to show you how to figure that out with the homework in about 2 slides here. But first, let me explain why cost of attendance is so important. Let's say you go to an open house, college fair, any school in the country, anywhere, and you ask them because you want to know what does your college cost? You're asking the wrong question. If you ask any college what they cost, they will typically tell you the tuition and room and board cost. That is not the total cost of the college. Those are the two biggest components, but it's not the total cost. If you instead ask them, what is your cost of attendance? They'll tell you the tuition, room, board, parking fee, lab fee, new student fee, technology fee, insurance fees, book fees. Everything will be given to you. That way you'll know ahead of time if you ask what the cost of attendance is, what the total cost for that upcoming academic year is going to be. Now, let's talk about the homework. And the homework, by the way, is very simple. Every one of you will take your college list and you're going to go on to Google and you're going to type in the school's name and the term net price calculator. So you'll type in PACE net price calculator or UConn net price calculator. What will typically happen is most of the links, by the way, are going to send you here to College Board for whatever reason College Board has a lot of links. That being said, every one of these things will ask you, every link that you go into for every school is going to ask you anywhere from 18 to roughly around 25 questions. Each college you do this for will take maybe 5 to 7 minutes, very quick. So even if you have, let's say, 10 schools, it's going to take you basically an hour to do the whole list. What's going to be asked of you is financial information, how much you get, how much you make on taxes, how much you pay in taxes, what do you have in checking, what do you have in savings, that kind of questions. Plus, they're also going to ask you academic questions. What high school does the student go to? What kind of class they take? AP, honors, dual, IB credit courses. Also, they're going to ask you the student's GPA and the student's test scores. They're going to take these two groups of information, financial and academic, put them together, and they're going to give you a PDF at the end. It takes maybe 2 seconds to calculate. The PDF at the end is going to show you a breakdown of how much the college cost, all the breakdown on the cost of attendance side. It's also going to show you how much in scholarship money and grant money this school can provide you if you attend. This is a key for all of you that are considering early decision 1, early decision 2, restricted early action, or first choice, basically any of the binding or somewhat binding admissions processes. This is the key for all of you to figure out, do we feel comfortable moving forward in early decision or not? Do we feel comfortable actually even moving forward with any of the colleges on your list to see if they're affordable for us as a family? This is the key to make sure you guys have the right list. Not really the reach, target, safety. Yes, that's the foundational understanding of admissions. But the now realistic aspect is, can we get you into a good school that's affordable where we all feel comfortable for you going? That's the mindset you guys should have going forward. Now, I actually did net price calculator to show you guys how simple they are. I went to Harvard. I basically Googled Harvard net price calculator, and I plugged in that we're a family of 4 with one student going off to college, and that we have $100,000 in income and $50,000 in investments. Harvard came back and said, here's our breakdown, which is awesome. I get the whole breakdown of the college cost, and here's how much we'd expect you to pay. $3,500. That's it. Now, I know many of you guys are thinking, well, that's great, Ed. How many of us are going to Harvard? The reality is Harvard's not the only school that's generous. As you go down from Harvard being technically the most domestically difficult school to get into, statistically speaking, you're also going to find very generous colleges. Columbia, Cornell, this generous. BU, this generous. Loyola, all four Loyolas, basically this generous. Every liberal arts school, basically this generous. So you're going to start seeing schools that are very generous. Ithaca, close to this generous. Gettysburg, Franklin Marshall, Muhlenberg, Fairfield. I can go on and on and on telling you guys what schools are generous, but you would also figure this out if you did your school list net price calculator. Okay. Now, before I go on to the next page, we have a question just popped up. Oh, hi, guidance office. Just saw that. Can schools actually check what you have in checking and savings? Sort of. Let me put it that way. Now, no college is going to ask you, by the way, for your specific bank accounts, if you're wondering. So if you're thinking, is there a way we can shield the assets or hide the assets or I guess fudge a little bit off the top? Technically, you can. From this perspective, the way the colleges check if you're being honest with your assets, which I'm going to go through the assets in a moment, is they're going to ask you for your tax returns in some cases. So one out of three of you guys will be verified. Typically, it's just done by lottery where they just randomly choose FAFSAs and they say, please double check the tax information. The financial aid office will do that for you. What will happen is you send your taxes in, and they're going to go right to certain lines. So lines 2B and 3B show interest and dividends, obviously what you have, checking, savings, CDs, bonds, money market, investments outside of retirement. That's how they check that information. Also, line 7 is capital gains. Line 8 is typically rental properties or businesses. So that's how they kind of check. But as far as them asking you to send directly into them bank statements, no, it's extremely rare. I've seen it happen twice, and I mean twice in like 30 years, and I do close to 90 high schools a year. So I'm talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of families I've seen where they've never asked for anything more than the tax information. Okay. Okay, let's go to the next slide here. Also, once again, guys, you have questions, just ask away in the Q&A. Now, for all the parents on the call here today, you all will fill out the form on the left called the FAFSA form. The FAFSA form becomes available technically today. It's been available essentially for the last 5 days, but little tidbit here, it hasn't worked in all 5 days. It's still actually just started working, by the way, today. And I know I can say that because I have already helped out, I think, 12 or 13 families fill out the FAFSA. And until today, which was the first day I was actually able to do a FAFSA completely with any glitches, today's the first day the form's actually working. The first 4 or 5 days, if you did the FAFSA, it wasn't working. So there might be a problem with your FAFSA, just putting it out there, because I've already done like 15 FAFSAs already for families. But that being said, for senior parents, you guys are the only ones doing the FAFSA form. For senior parents, you're doing the FAFSA form basically starting today on. The FAFSA form requires you use 2024 tax information. Okay. Now, for senior parents as well, some of you, in addition to the FAFSA, will also have to fill out the form on the right called the CSS profile form. The CSS profile form is an additional financial aid form required by some colleges. To give you an example, there is no SUNY school that needs a CSS. However, Cornell, Columbia, NYU, Fordham all needs the FAFSA and the CSS profile. Now, I'm going to go more in depth in the FAFSA, and then I'm going to go more in depth in the CSS. Now, for the FAFSA form, once again, only for seniors right now. Juniors and below, you guys aren't doing any financial aid forms. The FAFSA actually shrunk. It went from roughly around 100 questions down to roughly 40 to 50, depending on how you answer some questions. Other questions are either generated or erased. In addition to that, the form becomes available essentially today, and today is really the only day I've seen it work. So if you did it before, you might want to go in there and check to see what happened. That, in addition to that, we also have two major changes that happened on the FAFSA in the last 2 years. Major change number one, the FAFSA got rid of the multiple students in college discount. Now, what used to happen was on the FAFSA, if you had two students going to college at the same time, you would do two FAFSAs. You would indicate on those two FAFSA forms that you have two students going to college. That would mean that each student would get basically a 50% discount. That is now gone. Now, that seems like a big deal to a lot of families, but it's really not that big of a deal. I have a slide just for that, and I'll explain to you guys why it's not that big of a deal. Even if you have multiple overlapping college, why it's not a big deal. Then the other two change, or the second big change, sorry, is that the separated parents on the FAFSA has changed from before. The FAFSA would ask you guys, because if you're separated or divorced, the FAFSA only counts one parent. The FAFSA used to ask you where the student lives majority of the time. Now the FAFSA doesn't ask that anymore. The FAFSA now asks you guys who provides the most financial support. So they're looking to see who's financially more supporting the student between the two parents to use that person's income and assets on the forms. And I have a slide, by the way, just for divorced and separated and remarried parents, explaining this in more detail, by the way. Okay. Now, more questions just came in. Is there a gross income level which you won't get anything? Not really. You're going to get financial aid no matter what your adjusted gross income is. But if you're looking for need-based aid, typically for one student, need-based aid on the higher end schools, 300,000 is roughly the cutoff where you're not going to get any need-based aid if you're looking at the highest end schools cost-wise. Now, that being said, let's talk about where you guys go to fill out the FAFSA form. Since the form is essentially available now, you guys can go to that website down there, studentaid.gov. This is the website you fill out the FAFSA form. Now, once again, though, I would say wait, because once again, I've done myself so far 15 FAFSAs, and only one is working. And that was basically like 45 minutes ago, it was working. So I can't say it's completely working. It might just have been pure luck that 1 out of 15 worked for me. Now, that being said, I'd wait until like October 4th or 5th before I filled out any financial aid forms. And the main reason is because it's not working right now. In addition to that, to give you an example, every year the site crashes. Every year crashes. It crashed the first couple of days it opened in September 25th or 26th when it opened. To give you an example even more further, the screenshot you see right here where it says page currently unavailable, this popped up last year a dozen times. The first day it opened, October 1st, this was on the screen the entire day. So the first day, for whatever reason, everyone jumps on there thinking they're going to get more money. It's not the way this works. And a lot of parents say, well, Ed, I was told first come, first serve. The faster you do it, the more money you're going to get. It doesn't work that way. It has never worked that way, to be honest with you. And I say that from the point of view of I've done this for 30 years. I've worked at 4 private colleges. It doesn't matter when you turn the form in as long as you meet certain deadlines. And the deadlines are very simple. If you guys are doing early decision 1, which is due November 1st for most schools, for Southern schools, actually October 15th, you have, if you're doing October 1st, October 15th early decision, let's say for Miami, because Miami has October 15th early decision, you have until October 15th to get the form in. If you're doing Northern schools, the early decision 1, which is typically November 1st, you have till November 1st. If you're not doing early decision of any kind, you have 90 days to get the form in. You have up until the end of December, and you all get the same money. So unless you're doing Miami early decision 1, due October 15th, even then you have 15 days. If you're doing November 1st, for let's say early decision for Northeastern or BU, you have till November 1st, so you have 30 days. If you're not doing any early decision at all, you have 90 days to get it in. So whether you do it October, November, or December, you all get the same exact money. I'm so confident in saying that, by the way, that not only am I being recorded saying it, I also just put a video up 2 hours ago on YouTube, our last video, saying the same exact thing for the entire country to view. So I'm not just saying this because I think it, I'm saying this because I know this. You have plenty of time. Do not rush. If you want to rush to do something, rush to get the admissions paperwork in, then focus on the financial aid paperwork. Okay? Now, with all that being said, let's say you need to fill out the forms and you want to do it tomorrow or the next day, or you want to do something tonight after the presentation. Very simple. What you will do is go to the website down below, studentaid.gov, where you fill out the FAFSA. And what the first 2 things you'll do is you'll create 2 IDs because you need a student ID and a parent ID to even start the FAFSA. Because there's technically 3 FAFSA forms now, not 1. I'm going to explain all 3 to you guys in a moment, by the way. So you can go online now, today or tomorrow, and create the student and parent IDs. If you need help creating the IDs, as you can see here, I have a screenshot. We already have a guide online to help you guys step by step creating the IDs. Like I mentioned before on the YouTube channel, we have literally guides for everything and videos about everything. So first thing you want to do to start the FAFSA is create student ID and create a parent ID. That being said, after you have those things, let's say it's October 4th or 5th, and the reason you want to wait till then too, by the way, is the IDs typically take 2 to 3 days to verify. So let's say you did the IDs today or tomorrow, and then let's say over the weekend on Saturday you decided, let me start the FAFSA form because it's been 3 days, they've been verified. What you do is very simple. You'll go to studentaid.gov, you'll log in using the student's login. When you log in as a student, halfway through the student's FAFSA, it's going to ask you to send information to the parent and email them to basically invite them to start their FAFSA. You're going to get an email immediately. Do not, this is what every parent does and screws up the system. Do not do the parent email stuff yet. Like, don't click on it, open it, and start working on it. Leave it alone. You'll first finish the student's FAFSA. So start the student's FAFSA with their login, send the invitation to the parent, get the email, leave it alone, finish the student's FAFSA, and you're going to see this exact screen. When you see this screen, this is the confirmation saying the first FAFSA, the student FAFSA, is done. Then log out of this, and if you want, go back to the email, click on the invitation to start your FAFSA, or since you already logged out here, just log in using the parent's login information, and then that way, by doing that, you can connect the two FAFSAs together. So you can do either of the two things. Now, you'll do the student FAFSA, then you do the parent FAFSA. At the end of it, you're going to have a third step, which I'm going to show you in a moment. But first, let me show you guys why or how the FAFSA was able to shrink itself. On the first page of the student FAFSA and the first page of the parent FAFSA, on your first page for both you guys, when you go in, you're going to see this exact page. It's called the consent form. The consent form is basically asking you, do you consent to us, the U.S. Department of Education, let's call it the FAFSA people, to be able to draw in your taxes for 2024 from the IRS? If you say yes, your taxes get brought in. If the student has taxes, they'll bring them in. If the parents has taxes, they'll bring them in. This is why you guys are asked so little questions now, because the tax information is already drawn in for you guys. Okay. Now I have more questions that just popped up. Let me see what questions you guys have. Let me see here. If you already have a student enrolled, do you need another ID? No. If you have, let's say, two students going to college, let's say you fill out a FAFSA for the student last year. So now you have two IDs, one for the older student, one for the parent. Now what you need to do is create an ID for the new student. The parent ID, by the way, stays the same. So the ID is person specific and is based on your social, essentially. So if you have two students going to college, you're filling out two FAFSAs and you have three IDs. The parent FAFSA ID is used for both of them. Okay? Now, that being said, let me go back. What happens next? Well, very simple. You send in the student FAFSA, you send in the parent FAFSA, and then you will wait 7 business days. You should all write this down. It's very important. Wait 7 business days after the student and parent FAFSA goes in. Then come back onto studentaid.gov and log in as the student. When you log in as a student, you're going to see what I call the third FAFSA, or the My Activity section. This here was going to have 2 screens available to you. If you see this kind of screen, which shows action required, that means something's wrong with the FAFSA, you got to fix it. If you don't see anything that says action required, it just says in progress, which means it's basically working on your file. That means leave it alone. There's nothing to do here. Okay, so now there's 3 FAFSAs: student, parent, My Activity. Now, with all that out of the way, we talked about how they draw in the taxes. Let's talk about what other things they ask for, specifically, obviously, the assets. Now, when it comes to the assets, the FAFSA form is going to ask you guys about checking, savings, investments, and also they have one retirement question. The one retirement question is where some parents mess this up. The one retirement question on the FAFSA is asking you, what did you contribute to your retirement account last year, 2024? Not what you have, because the FAFSA does not want to know what you have in total. In addition to not counting the total amount of retirement you have, the FAFSA also doesn't count your primary property. So wherever you live, the home you live in, no matter how much equity you have, doesn't go on the FAFSA at all. The only time you count property is if you have a second property. Then you count that equity on the FAFSA form. The FAFSA form now, however, new changes, does count farms. If you have a farm, you must count the value. It also counts now businesses, whether it's small, medium, or large businesses. Any business value must be added now to the FAFSA form. They also count 529 plans, i.e. the college savings account. When it comes to the college savings accounts, this is another asterisk here. Let's say you guys set up a New York Best 529 plan. So you have a New York 529 plan for your student, and it was set up by you as a parent. Well, then you count that in the parents section of the FAFSA. Let's say we have, though, 2 529s, one you set up as a parent and one the grandparent set up. You count the parents' 529 plan in the parents section of the FAFSA. The grandparent set up plan, you do not count. Anyone else other than the parent who set up a 529 plan, you don't count it. Even if your student's a beneficiary, you don't count it on the FAFSA anymore. Okay. Now, I know I told you guys, I was going to show you guys the breakdown of the FAFSA. This is the breakdown of the FAFSA, how it calculates your ability to pay and how much you should be paying towards the cost of college. Now, this formula here is the most important formula you're going to have in all financial aid. So you need to kind of understand this. I would take a screenshot. Now, that being said, this is very important and it's completely worthless at the same time. Now, you understand why I say it's very helpful, very useful, and completely worthless at the same time when I finish. Now, this has four parts to it. Start from the bottom and work my way up. Student assets. Any money in a student's name, they want 20% of it to go towards the cost of college. So if your student has 10,000 in the bank, 20% of that, or 2,000 bucks, is part one. Part number two, students' income. Students are allowed to make up to $9,400 before $1 counts. After they make more than $9,400, every dollar over that is 50 cents on the dollar is counted towards your ability as a family unit to pay for that one student's college education. Part number three, parents' assets. It's a sliding scale. Right at the bat, your primary home, remember, doesn't count in the FAFSA. Your retirement accounts doesn't count in the FAFSA. In addition to that, they also give you a $10,000 asset protection, which means the first 10 grand doesn't count in the formula. So if you said, I have $30,000 in checking or savings, that's all the money I have on the form, the machine will back out 10,000. The 20,000 remaining will be assessed at a rate of 5.6%. And now you start thinking, well, our money as parents count at less than 6%. The student's money counts at 20%. That's pretty high taxation. Things you might want to do before you start working on the forms. Okay. Now, all that being said, part four, very simple, parents' income. And when they ask for parent income, they're asking for adjusted gross income, line number 11. For adjusted gross income, the way it works is this, because you're probably thinking, am I paying 20% of my income? Am I paying 40% of my income? The easy way to look at it is this. If your adjusted gross income, line 11 on your 24 taxes, federal taxes, is between 50,000 to 225,000, you're paying roughly 20% of your income towards the cost of college. So if you're making 100,000, you're paying $20,000. So this is the way they come up with your ability to pay for college. Now, the reason this is so important is it gives you a basic understanding, like a first level educational English 101, math 101, college understanding of how this works. The reason it's completely worthless, most colleges don't follow this format like at all. Let me explain to you what I mean. If you were to say to me, hey, Ed, I make $100,000 a year, I have no savings, no checking, no nothing. This formula here is going to say that your ability to pay is $20,000, okay? Which means anything that costs more than that is going to be helped out by the college. However, it doesn't work that way for most colleges. If you were to say to me, my college list is Fordham, SUNY Binghamton, I'm not going to use SUNY Binghamton, I'm going to use other schools. Fordham, Penn State, UConn, UDel, U Maryland, U Miami, Ohio State, Purdue. All those schools I mentioned are going to look at this and say, okay, you're not paying 20,000. You're paying close to sticker price because we don't follow this formula, unfortunately. So this is why I tell parents all the time, this is good to understand kind of how they tax you, I guess the best way to put it. So you can kind of figure out the best way to set up your situation to get the most financial aid. But realistically, the right way to go down to figure out what makes the most sense and who's going to give you money is not this. It's using the net price calculators. Those are the goals to figure out which schools are going to be very helpful versus which schools are not going to be helpful at all, unfortunately. Okay. Now, let's talk about what happens next. Well, this is where living in New York gets more complicated. From the point of view of there's multiple forms New Yorkers need to fill out for consideration of aid from New York. Now, the way that works is very simple. When you guys finish the FAFSA stuff and everything is done, what used to happen is you guys would see this screen here. On the screen here, as you can see on the bottom right, it says start your state application. That button was there for New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, California, and 4 other schools because 8 schools required you to check on that box. However, now that box for the group right there, HESC, the Higher Education basically Authority of New York, that box is now on this screen taken away. So when you finish the student and the parent FAFSA, there's no box to click on anymore. What's supposed to happen is the information is supposed to go directly over to this group right here, which is HESC. Oh, hold on 1 second, which is HESC. It's supposed to go to this group right here, HESC, and it's supposed to basically available all your information you put on the FAFSA to the state of New York to make it that you're able to get state aid. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't work that well for New York or California. So what you guys need to do, once again, after 7 business days, you guys need to go into the state of New York site, this one right here, Higher Education Services Corporation. You need to go there, which is hesc.gov. Once you go to hesc.gov, what will happen is it's going to ask you guys to fill out a bunch of information. Now, the state of New York, typically after you finish the FAFSA, will ask you additional questions, which will have you guys answering anywhere from 30 to 40 additional questions. Those additional questions are going to require to get any state aid, by the way. Now, this is what you guys need to do if you guys are staying in state, looking at the SUNYs, the CUNYs, or really any New York school, to be honest with you, if you're looking to get TAP, Tuition Assistance Program, obviously grants in the state of New York. This is also a requirement and necessary if you guys believe or think you're eligible for the Excelsior program. Now, the Excelsior program is another program in the state of New York which requires another form. So you have the FAFSA, you have the HESC form I just mentioned, and then you have on top of that the Excelsior form. Now, the way Excelsior works is if you're looking to attend any SUNY or CUNY school, and also other state schools are now involved in this, like Cornell's also involved in this program now too for discounts. The way Excelsior works is if you have an income, adjusted gross income of 125,000 or below, you're eligible for the program, basically free tuition at CUNY or SUNYs, and also reduced cost at Columbia and other schools. The way this program works is completely different from the other two I just talked about. So the FAFSA form, you basically have 90 days to get the FAFSA form in, and you're fine. Let's call it the end of December. The state of New York, similar situation. You want to get it in within the first 90 to 100 days of October 1st. This form for Excelsior, completely different. This form comes out whenever they're ready to get the form out to you guys, which in some cases has been in May, some cases it's been in April, others in March, others in June. So you never know when this form's coming out. So the easiest way to make sure you don't miss anything is very simple. See the website down there I have, hesc.ny.gov/Excelsior. You should all go to that website after the presentation if you want to take a screenshot. Once you go there, it's going to ask you for your email. Give them your email. By giving them your email, they're going to email you back with notification when this form is available. Because unfortunately, the state of New York doesn't have a specific deadline for the Excelsior paperwork to go in. So for you guys, it's always good to have this email in just in case. Let's say your student maybe not be interested in SUNY right now, but maybe they are later on. So it's always good to get the notifications from these guys to make sure you don't miss anything. So for you guys, FAFSA, State of New York, HESC.gov, and then Excelsior. These are the 3 steps you guys need to take if you're considering any New York schools. Now, in addition to all that, so we have already 3 different forms we're looking at for New Yorkers. In addition to that, you also have another form you might have to fill out. It's called the CSS profile form, done here on College Board. The CSS profile form is an additional financial aid form for institutional aid. So schools own money, basically, it's called. Now, the way it works is very simple. For this program, if you're not sure, does my school need the CSS or just needs the FAFSA and state stuff? Very simple. Call every school your student's looking at. Call their financial aid office directly and ask them, what financial aid forms do you need? If they say you have to fill out the CSS, that means you have to fill out the CSS, the FAFSA, the HESC, and Excelsior probably. So you're filling out multiple forms, let's call it. Now, the way this form works is completely different from the FAFSA. Right off the bat, this form has never had issues, and this form has also been available already for a week, essentially. That being said, you fill out the CSS profile form on collegeboard.org. If you need to fill it out, one thing to understand is you probably don't need to create an account because your student very likely has an account. The students have an account if they've done anything with SATs, PSATs, or AP classes, then they have accounts. That's basically the way to look at it. So you would log in as a student using their College Board account they already have set up to do the CSS profile. Now this form, just like the other forms, same scenario. If you're doing early decision for the Southern schools, October 15th, this form is also due by. If you're doing Northern schools, which is typically November 1st early decision, then this is due November 1st. If you're doing nothing at all with early decision, then you have, once again, 90 days to do this form as well. Now, the big changes between, or the big difference between these forms is very big. Right at the bat, the CSS profile is 250 starting questions, where the FAFSA is 50. If you get overwhelmed with either one of these two forms, there is a save button. Hit the save button. Do not rush. Take your time. You don't need to do this all in one sitting. I have had accountants tell me, asking me questions too about the form, by the way, that tell me that it's taken them 2 or 3 days to fill out. So if you need help, you feel overwhelmed, hit the save button. Go find the answer you need to fill out the rest of the form. Don't rush. This is not a race, by the way. Also, if you do need help with the financial aid forms, I do help out. As I mentioned before, I've already done 15 FAFSAs. I do help out a lot of families do the financial aid forms. So if you need help, just email me. But if you want to do it, you feel overwhelmed, just hit the save button. This is not a race. Now, the CSS profile, the reason it has so many more questions, it's going to ask you all 529s, regardless of the principal holder. It's also going to ask you about trust. It's going to ask you about what the value of your home is when you bought your home, how much you owe on it, how much you pay per month, what kind of car you drive will sometimes be asked of you, what kind of retirement accounts you have, a breakdown of the retirement accounts. So it goes very in depth, unfortunately. Okay, that's why it has so many more questions. Okay, now let me see here. I have a bunch more questions came in. Let me see what your questions are, guys, and then I'll get back to the screen here. You guys can keep asking questions as you want as well. Okay, here. It's adjusted gross income. They're counting for income. Yes. So line 11 on your 2024 taxes, that's what they're counting when they ask you for income. If you already have a student enrolled in college, do we have to answer that one? What if my salary is no longer the same as 2024? I have a slide just for you. Your slide's going to be popping up in, let's see here where we are. In 4 slides, I want to answer your question. Okay. Now let's go over the separated, divorced, married, and remarried parent situations when it comes to FAFSA. Now, if you're divorced or separated, the FAFSA is going to ask you for one parent's financial information. And the new question on the FAFSA is who provides more financial support? And it seems like everyone's getting this question wrong, by the way. Let me explain to you why everyone's getting this question wrong. Let's say we have 2 parents. Parent number 1 makes 200,000. Parent number 2 makes 80,000. You're probably thinking, okay, I got to use a parent who makes 200,000. That's incorrect. The question is not who makes more money. The question is asking who provides more financial support. It's irrelevant what the parents make. So I would go with the parent with the lower income. The way it works is the parents, between the two of you, if either one of you make over $32,000, they'll let you use either parent for this question, by the way. So I'm always going with the parent with lower income because it provides more financial availability for more financial space, i.e., more chances of getting free grant money. Now, other side of the coin is if you're remarried, though, stepmom, stepdad, your information goes on the financial aid forms. Whether you file taxes together or not, irrelevant. Whether you adopt a student, also irrelevant. Step parents' information goes on the form. That's FAFSA. Let's talk CSS. On the CSS profile, also a lot more different. CSS profile, it depends on the school, but most of the schools are going to ask you both to fill out forms, whether you're divorced or separated. So if you're both divorced, if you're divorced and separated, you're filling out the custodial CSS and the non-custodial CSS. You guys are doing at least 500 questions. Once again, if you get overwhelmed, hit the save button. Do not rush. That being said, let me explain why in the beginning I said the colleges getting that, or the FAFSA getting rid of the multiple students in college discount is not a big deal. And this is the reason why. In the world of college, there's 3 people that give you financial aid. The college, the state of New York, if you stay in state in New York and go to a state college, and the federal government, the FAFSA people. The person who got rid of the discount is the FAFSA people. The people who didn't get rid of the discount are the colleges. So if you have a college list that's generous, the college will make up any money taken away by the federal government. So you need to make sure that you're allowed, or your school list you're looking at is generous. If it is, then the FAFSA discount being taken away to you is irrelevant because the college is going to make up that money. Also, to give you an example, if you make $50,001, the federal government for one student going to college would give you zero money in Pell Grants. So you weren't going to get anything. If you had 2 students going to college making $50,000, they'll give you roughly around $1,500 a student. So think about this. You have two students going to Miami at $204,000, and the federal government in that scenario is going to give you $3,000. They're not even paying 1/10% basically of what you need help with. So realistically, as long as you have a college list that's generous, you guys are fine. That being said, let's talk about frequently made errors. Four frequently made errors every year: first name, last name, social, and birthday. If you make sure those four are right, everything will be fine. First name, no nicknames. So if your first name is Edward, you put Edward, not Ed. Second, your last name. If you don't know your last name, and I know you guys are thinking like, how do you not know your last name? This happens every year, and it happened 2 days ago when I was doing a FAFSA. The parent didn't know their last name. And it's always the same reason why, by the way. You guys got remarried, and the question is, did you legally change your name on your social security card? Not your driver's license, not your marriage certificate. Those are irrelevant. Your social security card is the name we need to use on these forms. Third, the birthday. If you don't know the student's birthday, they don't know your birthday maybe, ask them. If you don't want to ask them, you don't want to start an argument and etc. Very simple. Go on Facebook. Facebook notifications have everyone's birthday. Very easy way to cheat. Four, the social security number. If you don't know the student's social, they don't know your social. This isn't like bingo and guessing. This is not the way this works. If you put the wrong social, by the way, on some of these forms, they're going to make you do it all over again from the beginning. So obviously you want to avoid that one. Now, let's talk scams, frauds, and things to watch out for. When it comes to scams and frauds, the best thing you can do in this entire process is go to that website down below, studentaid.gov/resources/scams. That is a website from the U.S. Department of Education that has a PDF that takes about 15 minutes to read. That PDF will tell you everything the U.S. Department of Education has seen as far as scams and frauds over the last basically 60, almost 70 years now. That's the best way for you guys to make sure you don't fall for anything and pay for anything that you don't need to. Now, all that being said, let's talk about the question here, by the way, that you asked about changes in income. This is the slide for you guys. Let's talk about what happens right now. Right now, your goal is very simple. Get all the admissions paperwork in. So all your focus this month should be admissions paperwork from this point of view. Until your student's accepted by the admissions office, no one's going to look at your financial aid forms. So stop worrying about financial aid. I know this is a financial aid meeting. It doesn't make any sense, but get your admissions stuff in early. And I mean early from this point of view. Every year, the admissions offices have seen record number of applications. So technically, every day you wait to send your application in, you are generating more competition because more people are sending applications in ahead of you. So right now, get your admission stuff done. Then work on the financial aid paperwork. Once those two things are done and your student's accepted, then you guys start receiving these. This is what's known as the financial aid award letters. Now, let's discuss how a financial aid letter breaks down. Because every financial aid letter at every school you're looking at, whether it's generous or not, whether it's REACH, target, or safety, all irrelevant, all break into three categories. Category at the top is going to be the school's cost of attendance. So every school at the top is going to give you a cost of attendance breakdown for next academic year, their estimated numbers. So on there, you're going to see the tuition, the room and board, the estimated book cost, transportation. It's going to give you an idea of the cost you're going to be dealing with next year, academically speaking. Underneath that, they're going to have a breakdown of your student aid index number. So what they think, based on all the financial aid paperwork you send in, what they think you can afford to pay for college. So first, what they cost, then next, what we can afford to pay according to them. On the bottom of that, the third section is the breakdown of all the aid they're giving you. The grants, the scholarships, the loans, the work programs. Down here is what they're saying is basically, this is our offer to you if you come here at our college. Now, if there's been a change in circumstance, because if you have, let's say you have a job loss or a death in the family, a divorce, natural disaster, basically anything that affects you financially in any way, what you will do is once you get this award letter, you will then contact the school and let them know you need to do a financial aid appeal. That's what it's called, a financial aid appeal, where there's been a change in circumstance. They will then ask you to write them a statement explaining what happened. In addition to that, in the statement of what happened, they're going to ask you for the latest tax return, as well as if there's any unemployment statements, any severance, any termination letters, all these things to basically see if they can find you more financial assistance. That's what a appeal does. Now, if you need help doing a financial aid appeal, very simple. I have a video on YouTube of how to do a financial aid appeal. That means whether you're appealing for more scholarship money, whether you're appealing for more grant money, on our channel, if you just go to YouTube, type in Ed Zamora and pull up our channel, if you just type in the term how to do a financial aid appeal, or even just type in appeal, our video pops up. It's 18 minutes long, and I explain in thorough aspects of how you appeal for whether it's scholarship money or grant money, what works, what doesn't work, and what never will work. I made the video because there's so many people out there putting stuff out there that makes no sense. So the reality is, if you watch that video, I will walk you through step by step of how somebody like me on the inside sees appeals coming in and which ones work and which ones don't work. That's basically the reason that we do most of the videos, to educate you guys. Because if I were to tell you guys everything I know, we'd be on here for like 2 weeks. That's why we have 300 videos on the YouTube channel. Okay. Now, all that being said, let's talk about the loans. Now, all of you guys will be dealing with loans regardless if you want them or not. Let me explain to you why. The moment you fill out the FAFSA form, the moment it goes in, your student is then automatically offered a federal entitlement, a federal direct loan of $5,500. That's why everyone knows at every college, and what I told in the beginning, that we all say yes to you, you're going to get financial aid no matter where you go, because we all know you're going to be offered loans. Now, the loan breaks into two categories, subsidized and unsubsidized. When it comes to these two loans, it's very simple to know what the difference is. The 3,500 subsidized amount means the government's paying the interest, that's 6.53% on that loan for your student the entire time your student's in school, all the way to graduation, whether it's undergrad, grad, or master's, PhD, the entire time, until 6 months after they graduate. Then the interest on this loan will start at 6.53%. The remaining 2,000 unsubsidized loan starts immediately compounding on a daily basis. You can say to the school, give me both loans, give me interest only, or don't give me any loans, but they must offer it to you. The second loan you're all going to get accustomed to hearing is called the PLUS loan. The PLUS loan is the worst loan. I'm not saying it's a bad loan to take out, it's just the worst loan in the ranking of all the rest of the loans. You should first look at the private lenders, College Ave, Sallie Mae, etc. Then you should look at the state loans, NJ Class, Rhode Island State Loan, etc. Then you should look at the Parent Plus loan, mainly because the parent loan starts at a 9% rate. In addition to that, it's got a 4.23% origination fee. So it's very expensive, plus it's got fees behind it. If you want, however, if you want to look at a different way of looking at it and you need loan help, very simple, just contact me if you need loan help. And this is why I say contact me. If you email me in June, and June is the earliest you'd be emailing me, by the way, for loan stuff, I'll explain in a minute. If you email me in June, I just send out to anyone who wants it the top 5 list of loans to consider based on interest rates, terms, and conditions. I just send to whoever needs it. If you also follow our YouTube channel, you know on the YouTube channel in June, the beginning of June, I put the video out there, the top 5 loans to consider based on interest rates, terms, and conditions. Now, the reason you don't apply to any loan stuff, by the way, until the middle of June, if not the end of June, is because none of you even know what your bill is until the middle of June. That's when the colleges come out with their bills, by the way. Now, let's talk about what you can do now if you need more help. If you need help and you didn't sign up, I do a newsletter that goes out every month to parents explaining and students what you need to do every single month. If you didn't already sign up for the newsletter, just email me your high school and the grade level, and I'll send you the newsletter out. In addition to that, there we go. Here are the important websites we talked about here tonight. We have studentaid.gov, obviously to fill out the FAFSA, College Board, where you guys fill out the CSS and a great resource for college research, scholarship searches. My number one scholarship search is Going Merry. I believe Going Merry is the best place to go if you guys are looking for private scholarships out there, obviously outside of what the high school can get you, the PTA, that kind of stuff, and also what the college can provide you. In addition to that, we do have a Facebook page. If you follow our Facebook page, you know we do post a lot of stuff, a lot of content about college stuff happening. And of course, our YouTube channel. The more of you guys that go on YouTube, watch our videos, like, comment, subscribe, etc., the more money we get to give back to you guys in scholarships. And once again, the last video I put up 2 hours ago was the video talking about, no, there's no extra money if you do the FAFSA early. If you want to watch that one, that's literally been up for 2 hours. All that being said, here is my contact information. Now, That's my cell phone number. My wife thinks I'm out of my mind because I literally have random strangers texting me at all times of the night, like all times. Because I have videos for people texting me in California, which is 3 hours behind. I even had people texting me from Spain asking me questions. But if you have questions, just text me. It's the easiest way for me to answer any questions you have. Also, if you text me, if you need help with anything like the financial aid forms, just text me. Easiest way to get a hold of me. If you have more of, you want to kind of type and figure out your questions for me, you can also just email me as well. Calling is very difficult to get a hold of me, though. Usually, I'm either doing a high school or helping a guidance office or helping a family or helping consulting at a college. So it's difficult to get me on the phone, but text message, very easy, and email, very easy as well.